Hello, I'm Gwenydd Jones. I'm a Spanish and French to English translator, an editor and a blogger, and I'm the founder of the Translators Studio, where we teach the art of translation and specialise in preparing translators for the CertTrans and DipTrans exams offered by the Chartered Institute of Linguists. Today I'm here to talk to you about how to get found online. This is quite a general presentation. My idea is to allow you to peruse the different options available to you. If you're a new translator, then the goal of this session would be that at the end you come away knowing where you should focus your marketing efforts. If you're a more experienced translator and you've already got an online presence but you're not quite sure where to go next, then the goal would be for you to come away knowing where maybe you need to update some of your online profiles or what your next move might be. In case you're wondering what qualifies me to talk to you about getting found online, I've been trying to do this since 2009 when I first became a freelance translator. Over the years, I've delved deep into digital marketing and SEO, and I don't think there are that many online marketing channels that I haven't tried. So I will share some of the trials and tribulations, some of my successes and failures, and hopefully you'll be able to map something there onto your own situation. Before I start running through the different online channels, I just wanted to have a quick word with you about preparation, because once you've identified the channel that you're going to use to market yourself, you're going to have to populate it with content, and there are a couple of things that you can do beforehand to help you understand what you need to write. The first of these is to create some buyer personas. A buyer persona is a detailed description of your target client. This description might include demographical information such as their age, their gender perhaps, where they live. It could also extend to develop them as a personality, thinking about their dreams, what does their daily routine look like. And then, of course, you need to identify what problem it is that they have that you're going to solve for them. The idea of developing a buyer persona is that you get a better understanding of who you're writing for. So that can help you choose which online channel is best, because where is this imaginary person going to go when they're trying to find someone who offers your services? And also it can guide you when you're writing the content, because if you can understand your value for them, then you can write things in the content to show them how you're going to resolve their problems and bring them value. If you've never heard of buyer personas and you'd like more information about how to write one, then just Google it. There are lots and lots of different articles online that will teach you. I've also written a blog post that connects with this presentation, which I'll give you the link to. The second thing that you want to get ready before you start populating your online profiles is your updated CV. In its simplest form, your CV is going to start with a personal statement. Then you'll either put your work history or your educational history. You can decide on the order that you prefer. If you're a new translator and you don't have a huge amount of experience, then the personal statement at the beginning of the CV is really important, because that's where you can convince this target client of your value and what you're going to do for them. If you're a more experienced translator, then maybe you've got too much to fill your CV and you might want to consider doing more than one. I have a CV for legal translation and I have a completely different CV for marketing translation. Once you've got your buyer persona and your CV ready, now you're in a good position to start opening online profiles and populating them with information. The first one I'd like to talk about is social media. The one social media profile that every freelancer should have is on LinkedIn. I've interviewed a lot of different people from the translation industry on our YouTube channel, and whenever I speak to somebody in translation project management, they all say, get your LinkedIn profile up to date. The reason is that a lot of the large companies have premium accounts with LinkedIn, and so when they want to look for someone to employ, they'll go in there and start searching. You'll even find that some of them run their application process through LinkedIn. It may be that that's the only place they go to look for people, and so if you're not there, you've got no chance of being found. What I did, because I'm not a big fan of producing lots of content, is I produced a really strong profile based on my CV and the personal statement that I wrote at the beginning. And then I optimized the profile using some keywords, the type of thing that I want to be found for: translator, editor, SEO, blogger. I don't post that frequently on LinkedIn because it's just not my thing, but I can tell you that several of our students do. I see them there and they put out a post maybe once a week, quite a detailed comment, maybe about something related to work, something that they've been thinking about related to translation, and they get a lot of interaction, a lot of likes and a lot of comments. Where this really serves them is if a potential employer goes to their profile to find out about them, then they can look at where they've been posting, and this consistent posting says to the potential employer that you're active in the industry and that you're interested in it. For me, I haven't done that much, although I do use it to promote our blog posts, but I can tell you that just by optimizing my profile and updating it regularly, I often get people finding me and coming to offer me different work opportunities. So, if you're going to walk away from this presentation and do just one thing, it's that: optimize your LinkedIn profile. As for the other social media, it's up to you. My advice is focus on LinkedIn and you'll be good to go. The second and possibly most obvious place to put yourself online would be on your own freelancing website. The great thing about a website is it's your real estate. You can design it how you want, you can put whatever content you want on it, and nobody can throw you off their platform because the platform belongs to you. A website can be quite intimidating when you start off. For me, it's always been a question of iteration. I produce a very simple page to start, and then I grow. I can also tell you that over the years, I've thrown quite a lot of money away on websites. The initial one that I did before the Translator Studio was called Letraduct, and I didn't really know what I was doing. I designed it as a sort of translation agency and a blog, and then I wanted to do the translator training, and the whole thing didn't really come together very well. I spent €1,500 at that point, that's 10 years ago, on that website, and in the end I just dumped it. The moral of the story there is that it's worth thinking hard before you do anything regarding a website, because decisions that you make at the beginning, like for instance the domain name, are going to be with you for a long time. After that initial mistake, I went much more slowly. I did a lot of experimentation. I'm interested in web design, so I learned how to design my own websites. And what I eventually learned is that you really do want to iterate with them. So start with something small that has the potential to grow, maybe just a single page, and then you can build on it later. The negative thing about a website is, of course, it's got cost. Your LinkedIn profile you did for free, but if you want to set up a website, at the very least, you're going to have to pay for hosting and for a domain name on a yearly basis. Then you may need to get some plugins, and then either you're going to learn to do it yourself, which takes time, or you're going to have to pay someone to do it for you. Once you're up and going, maybe you can get your web designer to teach you how to maintain it yourself. And so then on a yearly basis, it's just the hosting and domain costs, maybe around $250, depending on who you go with. You can get it cheaper or you can pay more. One thing to bear in mind is search engine optimization. It isn't realistic to expect your website to rank if all you're doing is a simple translator website. So you can save money there. I wouldn't use it to try to rank on Google. I would use it as a place to send people to. Once they find your LinkedIn profile, you send them there. The good thing about your own website is there are no competitors there, just you. Third on my list is professional associations. I highly recommend that you join at least one if you're serious about your profession. You can use their logos on all of your communications and advertising, and it tells clients that you're serious. I'm a member of the Chartered Institute of Linguists, and I've become a chartered linguist, and so that's very good to support the general impression I give to people who don't know me. In terms of actually getting work, the association that I've done best through is called ACETRAD, which is the Spanish Translators Association. The reason that works so well for me is that there aren't so many native English speakers there. So my top tip when it comes to joining a professional association would be to consider joining one in the country of your source language rather than in the country of your target language. Another place where you might want to add some online profiles are different marketplaces and platforms, some specifically for translators like prose.com and others more general like Fiverr or Upwork, where you can compete for work alongside freelancers offering lots of different services. Prose.com was my first online profile in 2009, and back then it was actually how I started to build my client base. I was marketing myself on prose.com and applying for lots of different jobs. Then I would send out CVs, and as I became more established, a lot of business came my way through word of mouth. In addition to prose.com, there's Translators Cafe. I had a profile there earlier on, although I haven't kept that profile up because I didn't get that much work there, although I know others have been successful. As far as the general freelancer marketplaces are concerned, like Fiverr and Upwork, I've never had profiles on them because they tend to attract bottom feeders. With a name like Fiverr, of course you're going to. I know of colleagues who've successfully found work and clients on those platforms, and you never know. If you're starting out, it could be a good way for you to get a few jobs under your belt to put on your CV at the very least. They also facilitate payment for you, although they may take a cut. Then you have translator marketplaces like the one that SmartCat offers. SmartCat has an online cat tool and its corporate clients use it. When they're using the tool, if they need linguists to assist them, they will source them from the SmartCat marketplace. What is good about that is you're putting yourself in the right place at the right time. You're there exactly at the moment when the client needs you. So far, I've mentioned 4 main places: social media with emphasis on LinkedIn, your website, encouraging you to start simple because you can always get more complicated later, professional associations, where I think at least one is a very good move to show people that you care about your profession, and online profiles and marketplaces in places like prose.com. I would say that those are the 4 basic options that you should be considering when it comes to trying to get found online. It may be that once you've got those profiles set up, you have a full portfolio of clients and you don't need to do any more online marketing, although you should always keep those profiles up to date. However, if you get into it, or you're enjoying yourself, or you're just passionate and want to do something a little more complicated, I'll just take a few moments to run through the more advanced options of online marketing. Blogging is one of my favorite activities to do when it comes to selling myself online, although to be honest with you, I would do it anyway because I enjoy it. What I really like about blogging is that it's a way for you to improve your writing skills. If you keep learning about how to do it better and you keep learning about SEO, you can become a really good marketing writer. As a result of my blogging efforts over the years, I've now been a blogger for 10 years, I have clients who choose to employ me as a blogger to help them rank on the search engines. Of course, it takes a long time to build up a successful blog, and some people like it better than others. Another option that is open to you if you create your own website is to just create a small blog. Maybe you just write 7 or 8 posts about different subjects related to the services that you offer. After that point, you can stop. All you need to do is make sure that you don't show the publication date and maybe check in on them to update them from time to time. The purpose of this would be when a client goes to your website, if they're trying to choose between you and someone else, maybe they'll click into the blog just to see if you actually have the expert knowledge that they're looking for. I don't know about you, but that's something that I do when I'm looking for services. I actually did it recently when trying to choose a physiotherapist. I opted for the physio who had the most complex blog, and their blog actually mentioned one of the issues that I wanted to see them about. If you don't like the idea of running your own blog, you could consider trying to get some guest posts published on other people's blogs. You can just email them and ask them if they're interested. If you have an idea, you can pitch your idea to them. Some of them have a dedicated page where they're actually asking for contributors. A good example of this is the professional associations, and I would start by contacting the one that you decided to join. They'll normally say yes. There's also LinkedIn. You're free to post whatever articles you want there, and that can again be a good way to just reinforce for clients that you actually care about what you do and that you know about it. The downside of blogging is that if you actually want to rank on search engines and make money through it, it takes a long time and a lot of effort. You really have to learn how to understand SEO, and you have to be prepared to put in consistent effort every week. We now get the Translator Studio blog posts ranking quite well on Google, but it's a constant battle and a constant amount of updating. This is why it's very hard to get your site ranking as a freelancer, because if you consider the different sites that rank for translation, you're going to be competing with, say, automated translators like Google Translate. You've got no chance of outranking them. Or maybe you're competing with large language service providers who have very deep pockets and a big team of bloggers. Newsletters are an interesting option that you may come across when you're looking at your different marketing alternatives. I write a newsletter once a month for the Translators Studio, and a bit like the blogging, I enjoy doing it because it's a way for me to practice my writing skills in English. The problem with a newsletter is that you need readers, and so it's something that you would be considering once you've already established a presence somewhere. Maybe you've managed to get a lot of followers on one of the social networks, and so you can reach out to them and invite them to follow your newsletter. Or perhaps you've managed to create a blog that has a certain number of readers. With newsletters, you need to be thinking a lot about this buyer persona that I mentioned at the beginning. Is your target client going to be interested in reading your newsletter? Is there something that you can write that will provide enough value for them that they'll let you come into their busy inbox and that they'll actually open and read what you've written? If you enjoy multimedia, then perhaps you would be interested in starting your own YouTube channel. I started one for the Translator Studio several years ago, and I've actually had a lot of fun with it. I've interviewed different people from the translation industry and got to know different people through that. It also really raises my profile, and so when students come to train with us, they've already got to know me quite well. On the downside, it's taken so much work. It's difficult to tell you the number of hours. The learning curve was very steep. I still do it today, though not as much because of the time commitment involved. Last on my list is paid advertising. That's when you open an account with Google AdWords or you pay on one of the social media channels to have adverts shown to potential clients. What I'd say about paid advertising is that it's the fastest way to reach potential clients. You don't have to go through much of a learning curve. You just need to learn how to write a good advert. On the downside, you'll burn through money very quickly, and you may find that the traffic that comes in isn't exactly the type of client that you were looking for. So, to sum up, if you're starting out as a new freelancer, start by getting yourself an optimized LinkedIn profile. Once you've done that, look at getting profiles on other sites such as pros.com, professional associations, and maybe some online marketplaces. Once you're all set up there, then consider moving on to your own website. Keep it simple at first, but give yourself the potential to grow. Maybe a little further down the line, you'd like to start a blog. And always remember that you can guest post elsewhere to improve your online presence and also to help show clients that you really care about your work. Remember that it's important to keep these online profiles updated. Maybe make a note on your calendar at the end of every quarter to just log into your different profiles and make sure that there's nothing that needs changing on them. With this combination, you should find that potential clients are able to find you online.
All right. Gwenydd, can you hear me okay?
Hi, Jared.
Hey, how's it going? All
Fine,
right.
thank you. How are you?
Great. This is a topic that is really difficult for a lot of language professionals. I've noticed a lot of language professionals, they're good at translating, they're good at interpreting, they're good at what they do, but this side of it doesn't come easy to a lot of people. So let's get to some of the questions that came in. Maybe let's start with there were a couple of questions about the buyer personas that you mentioned. Rafaela asks, does a buyer persona work as well if your target are translation agencies? I mean, should you build a buyer persona around a translation agency?
Yeah, it's totally worth building a buyer persona for anybody that you think might buy from you. As I said in the presentation, you can do it for just 5 minutes just to start thinking about it, or you can read up on how to do it and dedicate, quite a lengthy amount of time to doing this. But it's worth doing it for any service that you're offering for any potential clients, because until you really start to understand that client, you can't understand what you need to say to them to show them that you are going to provide the value that they need, to convince them that you're the best choice for them. You really want to understand their problems and what it is that you're going to do to resolve their problems.
Exactly. Yeah, nowadays, maybe more than in the past, you can't talk to absolutely everyone. You've got to know who you're talking to, and so you can adjust the message and speak directly to them. So that's important. With the websites, there were some questions there. I've come across, I don't know. It would be interesting to compile some data there. So many abandoned freelancer websites that they started and they left it halfway, or it looked good 10 years ago and now not so much. You know, getting those up and running and then keeping them up and running seems to be a difficulty there. Some people asked for recommendations with regards to budget on a website. I'm going to make that a more complicated question. Recommendations with budget and time on building and keeping up your website. What would you say?
First of all, plan it from start to finish. So don't do anything. Now, the problem is you can get excited about it. It's like, yeah, I'm going to get this website up, and you just want to go. And the problem is that you don't think it through, and then that's why it ends up unfinished or abandoned. So it takes time and it takes patience to do that, but really think about what you want to achieve. And again, as I said in the presentation, maybe just start simple. I'm just going to get a single page up. Later I'll grow into something bigger. That's going to be cheaper to produce. In terms of budget, if you learn doing it yourself is of course cheaper, but it's hugely time consuming. In the end, I think it's actually a question, just as you might say, well, if you're going to budget on a freelance translator, you're not going to get as good a translation as if you get a good translator, and it's going to be the same for the website designer that you choose. So if you decide to do it cheaply, you're going to end up with something that looks cheap. So I would say to wait to go ahead with it, save up for it, think about it as maybe this is something I'm going to spend on next year. Start out with the free profiles online. There's lots of places where you can do a free profile. And then when you go for it wholeheartedly, thinking about what you're going to do and with the budget in place to be able to continue with it.
Good, good. Um, Rolando asks, what do you need to do? Let's say I've got my website up, or at least the first version of it. How do I start drawing traffic into my website? How do I get more people to my website?
The You think about the purpose of your website. So is it a calling card? Is it to say I'm sending my CV out to clients with a cover letter, and I'm also going to direct them to the website where they're going to get more information about me? So when you're doing that, you're never going to drive hundreds and hundreds of people to the site, but the limited number of people who go there are going because they're genuinely interested in you, and they're actually going to look at it carefully, which is why it's worth thinking about the content and maybe putting, just a few blog posts up there or something, so to show them that you're a professional. In terms of driving large numbers of traffic to your website, I don't think that it's possible to do it. The SEO is so difficult and it requires so many resources, and you're competing against people with a lot more money than you and big translation companies and even Google Translate. And so it isn't realistic to start out with a website and use traffic as your success metric. Rather than that, I'd look at it as, this is my home, this is my creative home, this is my home to show who I am to the world. I can put anything I want on there. I'm not limited by CV sizes, I'm not limited by agency application forms. And so the focus there would be the few people who will come, I'm going to try to get them to stay there and to want to work with me. Also, of course, link to it from all of your online profiles.
Yeah, that linking, I imagine, will drive some kind of traffic to your website, right?
Quite possibly. I mean, it's all about how you lay it out, how you market yourself. You want someone to click on it. I'm going to put a link here and I want someone to click on it. Well, you need to give them a reason to click on that link. It's not just going to come, or at least not quality traffic, not the people that you actually want to come to your website.
Right. Which brings you back to the buyer persona. The better you're speaking to them before they get to the website and then on the website, the better your results are going to be, I imagine.
Right, the same. And in, say, the CV cover letter, if you're piquing their interest, you can find out more on my website. Maybe you're someone like me, you've got a range of different profiles. Well, on the website, you can have different pages related to your different services. So, I'm writing to you today because I'm interested in working with you as a translator, but I also see that you employ content writers. I've got this experience in content writing. Please check out my website. Calls to action, calls to encourage people to go there.
Great. Someone else asked, when do you know it's the right time? You mentioned in your presentation, paid ads and that. They ask about paid ads and premium services on platforms like pros.com or LinkedIn. When can you know, okay, it's time to go for the paid ad, or it's time to pay for membership, or I think LinkedIn has a sort of paid version as well, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it's the same question, but it's lots of different factors involved there. In terms of paying for paid ads on Google, I wouldn't recommend any freelancer trying to do it. It eats your money, it's not cost efficient, and you probably won't get potential clients clicking through. In terms of paying for memberships, such as the site of pros.com, I recommend to my students the minute they're starting freelancing to join and pay for pros.com, but that's not comparable to a Google ad. A Google ad is simply me putting an advert out there. In pros.com, you're joining a community, you're getting access to a lot more than simply the ability to advertise yourself online. When it comes to somewhere like LinkedIn, their premium option is designed for employers rather than for the freelancer. There's actually an article somewhere on LinkedIn that I read where someone who worked for them recommended that freelancers and people looking for a job don't ever pay for their premium version, because it's actually the corporate clients who are paying for that, and they're going to be searching for you on LinkedIn. And so the important thing for you to do there isn't to spend your money, it's to optimize your profile as best as you can, so that if they're putting keywords in, looking for someone in a certain industry, to try to get yourself to appear there in the results.
Gotcha. Okay. And let's do one more question before we wrap it up. You talked about in your presentation, things that work. Can you think of anything that you have tried that definitely didn't work, that you would say, oh, don't do this?
There's so many things I've done that didn't work. It's just incredible. I'm going to do a first thing that says do this. Do play and try. And if you're attracted to something, have a go without taking it too seriously. Even if the conclusion ends up being, I'll never do this and I'm going to tell other people don't do it, such as paying for Google Ads, at least you had fun in the process and you learned something. So, have a go. But yeah, I wouldn't pay for any type of online advertising. And where the website is concerned, I wouldn't get overambitious and overspend. So I'd have a budget, I'm going for one page. I'm a freelancer. I'm not going to try to brand myself as a translation agency. I'm not going to try to present myself as something I think I want to be in the future. Instead, present yourself as what you are today and allow space for you to grow into this future professional that you're going to continue growing into throughout your career.
Very good. Very
The other thing that there's one more actually that I mentioned it in the thing, the social media. I also think there is what people enjoy, and I've never enjoyed social media, but I don't try to have a presence on all of them all at the same time, because it's exhausting. I would definitely stick with the recommendation to focus on one, and then maybe you expand to others if it's working out and you're enjoying yourself.
That's good advice. Out the gate, don't try and tackle them all. You'll just go crazy.
Yeah.
Great. All right. Excellent. Well, thank you very much for the presentation. Like I said, this is the kind of stuff that a lot of freelance language professionals struggle with. So it's good to get tips, pointers, and guidance along these lines. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you for being here and answering questions. Are there any final words or thoughts you want to leave people with before we wrap up?
I just think that I know that a lot of people starting out are struggling. I know that with AI, the way that the disruption that we've experienced in the industry over recent years has been very challenging, but there is still good work out there, and I encourage people to keep going. And also, don't stop at sending 10 CVs. I think I heard an earlier presenter said she sent out 1,000 CVs. I'd like to underline that I apply for new jobs almost every week. It never stops. And so as a freelancer, don't think that, I sent out a few CVs and nothing's happening. Be persistent, as persistent as you can be. Keep learning and keep growing.
Excellent advice. Excellent. All right, Gwenydd, thank you very much. Hope to see you soon.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.